With its rich, varied undertones, this dark neutral works beautifully with a wide spectrum of colors. That's Benjamin Moore's description of their mega famous paint color, Kendall Charcoal. Doesn't tell you a ton about what the color is, but don't worry, that's what James is here for. This is, of course, Color Quickie, our video series all about paint colors, what you need to know about them, and also an entire color palette coming up that goes really well with it. I'm especially obsessed with this color palette that I put together. You know, not to toot my own horn or flick my own hair, apparently. I have a feeling you're gonna like this one, so click that like button in anticipation. So first of all, we have a beautiful dark neutral color here, and I think that it's pretty close to taupe, which combines a base of slate gray with some brown as well. And there is the slightest hint of a green undertone that shows up from time to time, largely dependent on your home, your environment, your flooring, your furniture, and most importantly, your lighting conditions. Not to get too technical here, but I like to talk about the LRV of every paint color we assess, and that stands for the light reflectance value, essentially a 0 to 100 percentage of the amount of light that a color reflects. And in this case, we have a score of about 14.61 out of 100 for Kendall Charcoal. That means it only reflects 14.61% of the light that hits it. So not a ton of light coming back off of it. Not really the color choice if you want something very nice and airy and bright. It's kind of the opposite. It's more dramatic, it's a bit more moody, but beautiful nonetheless. Traditionally, this color has been viewed as an accent color for that very reason. It's very dark, very rich, but the nice thing is, it's still a neutral color technically. It's not overly vibrant or electrifying or overly red or yellow. It does have the flexibility and versatility of other taupes and charcoals and grays and all that. Great color for walls, even in entire rooms. So all four walls rather than just an accent wall, although you could use it in that way as well. Great for secondary spaces especially, so any areas that you can kind of close off with doors. Not really a color to connect an entire space with, like a hallway color or anything like that. Maybe something a bit lighter would be more optimal, traditionally speaking. It's awesome in places like powder rooms and even living dining rooms as well. Phenomenal exterior color as well if you want a darker main body color. Also great as a dark trim color outside too, or even inside if you really want. One of the more common uses for Kendall Charcoal outside is probably on a front or even a garage door. Great choice there. Overall, one of the most pleasing to use neutral dark colors. A bit niche, but still, it means something. It's muted enough to coexist with various other colors. It suits a near limitless number of design styles, and it remains popular to this day for those reasons. But it can't do it on its own. You need color pairings. And in fact, I got a bunch of them for you. 3 wall colors, 2 trim options, giving you a whole Kendall, I almost said Kendall Jenner. Weird. A Kendall Charcoal color palette. There. If you're liking this video so far, and you're a fan of reality TV apparently, press that like and subscribe buttons to stay up to date. And let's get into some color pairings. The first one being Calm, which I need to do. I need to calm down. 2111-70 by Benjamin Moore, of course. This color is much lighter. It has an LRV around 76, and it's a super soft off-white. Not really your typical grayish color, which you might expect. This one combines gray, and it has this balanced take on beige and violet. A little bit of a purple tinge here. It's really peaceful as a color, and I love it as a main color as well. It just feels different from traditional beige or gray. It has that little nuance to it, which makes it special. I did use it in the master bedroom in our house tour video we did a little while back. This is a color that if you are using it in places like your hallways or your front foyer or any of the open areas of your home, let's say, test it out, because it does have that little bit of purple, which could interact perfectly or imperfectly with your space. Next up, we have Misted Green, 2138-50. This color is a midtone, so it has an LRV around 46, kind of a minty sage, fairly cool, but still muted and desaturated as a color, but it's much deeper and darker than Calm, the one we just talked about. Somewhat complementary to that violet touch there, but shares the green aspect from Kendall Charcoal, although this one clearly has more of it. Great mid-tone secondary color that adds some sleek, cool green to the mix. Anywhere you want to sprinkle in a bit of color, you don't want to go with just beigey gray colors, this is a good choice. Next up, we have Deep Secret. CSP-625. So the CSP colors by Benjamin Moore, collectively as a color palette, they are pretty new, I would say, in the grand scheme of things, and they all have a lot of nuance. A ton of different colorants are used in each color. This one has an LRV of 11.64. It also has a very passive-aggressive description on the Benjamin Moore website, just as a side note. If you know me, I don't like being shushed, okay? Don't tell me shh, Benjamin Moore. This color, to me, is way more than a gray. I almost find it to be a dustier version of Hail Navy to a certain extent. It has a similar feel as Kendall Charcoal, but with a very different color hue altogether. It's a deep accent alternative, I would say. Anywhere you don't want a deep taupey gray, but you still want something dark and rich, you can substitute it with Deep Secret. Two more colors, we have the trim color options. So for your baseboards, your doors, your frames, I got two colors, both a light and a dark option for all of you. The first one is probably for most people. It's the off-white choice. It's called Decorator's White in this case. And I find it to be a very solid, grayed out white. Kind of like a very, 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 very light gray. It's soft and neutral. It works nicely with warm and more so cooler leaning colors, which this palette tends to favor overall. So I thought it would be a great choice. The dark trim option, the alternative trim option for either your baseboards or maybe just for your interior doors, would be Iron Mountain. I love this color. It's just a bit darker than Kendall Charcoal, so it would be a subtle difference in darkness on the trim if you had Kendall Charcoal on the walls, but sometimes you just need a little baby step difference between your wall and your trim colors just to give you a more streamlined, subtle feel. Here's the palette all together. I'll leave it on for a couple more seconds, but if you need to take a screenshot, then just go for it. And of course I got another color palette for you right here.